Star Wars 7x7 episode 2860. Yesterday we talked about the top 10 panels at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim related to Star Wars storytelling, and today we're going to talk about places where there are currently omissions in Star Wars storytelling, including one big glaring one. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, as I said at the top yesterday, we talked about the top 10 panels in terms of Star Wars storytelling, where the biggest news is going to be happening. There are a few places where we have not been given information yet, and I'm wondering whether we have a complete panel schedule yet, or whether there are still some announcements to come. There are a couple of cases that we're going to talk about here where I think there are still announcements to come, and a couple where I don't necessarily think there's anything coming, but I figured, hey, let's just cover all the bases. This is predicated on what we do every month, and in fact, we just did it on Sunday, about these 12 different categories where Star Wars storytelling happens, which includes movies, live action series, animation, books, audiobooks, short stories, comics, merchandise. Oh, this is where I always get tripped up. Streaming service stuff. Oh yeah, you can tell I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. Virtual reality, video games, and live experiences. Yeah, I think that covers all 12. So we've covered a lot of it, and I think the best way to start out with this is by flagging the fact that 11 a.m. Pacific time seems to be when the headline panels are happening at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. On Thursday, we have the Lucasfilm live action showcase, where they're going to talk about the Kenobi series, the Andor series, and a little bit about the Mandalorian. On Saturday, they've got Mando Plus happening in that time slot. That's the conversation with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, where they're going to look back at the first couple of seasons of The Mandalorian and talk about what's coming in season 3. And then on Sunday in that time spot, we've got the Bad Batch season 2 panel happening, but there's not yet been an announcement for what's happening at 11 a.m. on Friday. It's just not there in the news story on StarWars.com, and it's not anywhere on Star Wars Celebration's website. So something presumably would be there, and the one thing that we haven't heard anything about yet is anything movie related, particularly Rogue Squadron, still on the calendar for December of 2023. That's the glaring omission from my perspective, at least. So when might we find out about this? Certainly tomorrow, May the 4th, would be a great date for that. That's entirely possible. However, there's already a lot of stuff happening around May the 4th as it is, so I think it might be more likely that we'll hear something on May the 11th. And why May the 11th, you might ask? Well, that is the date of the next Disney investor call, where they're reporting their quarterly results, and they usually have some interesting tidbits that they reveal at that time, and doing something related to the movie is big enough where they might make an announcement movie related, and then anything following upon it for celebration planning purposes would roll right after that. That's the educated guess I'm making on that one. So that covers our movie situation. Another category where there's not a heck of a lot happening is in the video game category. So there is going to be a panel related to Star Wars Hunters, which is coming for the Nintendo Switch later this year, but a number of different Star Wars video games have been sneaked, discussed, mentioned, and yet there's nothing that's been announced to talk about the future of video games from Lucasfilm. And with the newly reconstituted Lucasfilm Games being launched in 2022 and all of these announcements that happened in January, I'm actually kind of surprised that we're not going to get more video game related content during Celebration, even though we are probably a couple of years out from some of these releases. But yeah, no sort of preview or anything like that on the schedule at the moment. And there's even less insight happening on the virtual reality front. So in our various monthly updates, we've been talking about the fact that there's been, over the past couple of years, some sort of new release on the ILM X Lab Oculus Quest front each year, but there hasn't been any announcement about one yet. I was hoping that Celebration might suggest something happening there, but right now, the only ILM X Lab content that's happening related to stuff that's been released is a behind-the-scenes thing about Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, and there's nothing in the description for that panel that suggests there are going to be any announcements about what might be coming next from ILM X Lab. That would be great if they did actually decide to do that, but so far there's no indication. I think we talked yesterday about how a lot of these panels, when they tell you that there are going to be new things, they all had kind of very standard language, like, you know, there'll be new announcements and reveals from a galaxy far, far away, right? Well, that language is not being applied to the Tales from the Galaxy's Edge panel or the ILM X Lab panel, so yeah, that seems like another area where I'm surprised that we're not getting any indication of new news coming from there. Then there's the short stories category, and honestly, I'm not surprised that there's nothing in particular about that in the panel stuff. I was thinking back on this, and I think the last time that Star Wars Insider magazine had a panel to themselves at Celebration, it was in London in 2016. I don't think they've had an Insider panel specifically since then, so it would kind of be a surprise. And I think anyway that if we are going to learn more about short stories that are published in Star Wars Insider, it's probably going to happen during the High Republic panel that's happening on Thursday, because we know that they're doing Attack of the Clones related 20th anniversary short stories right now, and they're supposed to pick back up with High Republic stuff when Phase 2 of the High Republic debuts in October, so I imagine we'll probably hear a little bit about that in the High Republic panel specifically. Also, presumably there is going to be a From a Certain Point of View collection of short stories to celebrate Return of the Jedi. Maybe they'll announce that at Celebration, but it seems a little bit early to do that since that's not going to be until next year's Celebration, but yeah, we'll see. And finally, sort of a miscellaneous category, if you will, has to do with our streaming services. So these are things that are not necessarily ongoing series being released on Disney Plus, but they are, you know, bonus material, if you will, that is added from time to time. So you could consider the Disney Gallery series, something like that, or Galaxy of Sounds, or vehicle fly-throughs, that sort of thing. And you wouldn't necessarily expect stuff like that to be announced at Celebration, although we might get some of that announced on May the 4th, which would be fun. And I was thinking particularly about Star Wars Visions for this. There is going to be a retrospective panel at Celebration about Star Wars Visions, although the description of that panel, same thing, it doesn't have any sort of, hey, be on the lookout for new reveals related to it. But considering the fact that they have gone beyond the animated shows and did the novel Ronin as well, and that there have been rumors kicking around about the possibility of a second run for it, yeah, I feel like there could be something there. Maybe that they're not necessarily ready to announce just yet. I don't know, but it was really popular. There was a lot of great talk about it, and again, they went beyond the animated to do the book situation too, so it would not be altogether that surprising to learn something new there. Oh, and then one other thing, which is live experiences. So in Chicago, they gave a preview of Galaxy's Edge because at that time, that was all still, you know, a very brand new situation, like it hadn't yet opened. Now, of course, we have the Galactic Star Cruiser open, and there is going to be a panel about experiences like Galaxy's Edge and the Galactic Star Cruiser happening at Celebration. I don't know if there's necessarily going to be any new reveals about it, or you know, any new things happening at Galaxy's Edge where they can say, hey, this is going to be a brand new part of the experience coming up. It may just be that, you know, now that they have a place to really talk about the Galactic Star Cruiser situation in person, that we may get some more information and background details about that sort of thing, but not necessarily anything new revealed in that regard. So that's what I've got for you in terms of apparent omissions so far in the stuff that's happening at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim in terms of all the categories that we cover in Star Wars storytelling. And that is going to do it for this episode of the show. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it as always. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, by their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.